So before we begin, I might give you a few hints of what you could use, not have to use. So I've got a bolster here. I might use the bolster just to snuggle up. There's no need for you to have one. A few extra cushions might be nice as well to use. I've got a blanket sitting there, more so for those of us that have lightly swollen knees or issues with kneeling or sitting. You could have a blanket nearby. Again, any cushions, blankets will do here. And if you like things to be elevated, you could also have a block. I know these are a lot of items. None of these items are essential to use at all. So please feel free to do what you would like to do in the sense, but keeping yourself safe. How I will begin the practice, and you are extremely welcome to join me, is I fold up my blanket so I can put my knees upon. I will use a bolster today to demonstrate, but I will first show you how not to use a bolster in case you don't have one. So I will sit towards my heels and then gently lean forward. The knees can be wide here too. And you could also choose to rest your head into your hands if you choose the child's pose without the bolster. The reason why you might want to put your head into your hands is so it doesn't come too low. If you want to use a bolster, maybe even the block, bring the bolster between your knees, the block on the other end so that the head isn't too low, and you could then just simply lie over the bolster, turning your head to one side. Now, whether you're using the bolster or you don't, snuggle yourself into a relaxed position. Now, as I'm aware that one of you has new knee challenges, please do take good care of that side. If you find this side doesn't bend that easily, you could have the trick of extending one leg out. A light cheat to your advantage if required. Once you've got your position and you feel comfortable, please turn the palms of your hands to face upward. If that's not possible, that's fine. It's more of a gesture to which we come. So while you might choose to snuggle in there, I would like to share a few things with you. And one of these is the same mudra that we've worked with before. It's Anjali Mudra. And the openness here representing, in that sense, a gesture of offering, as well as a gesture that we're ready to receive. And as we've worked out in multiple sessions before, if we want to receive anything at all, there has to be space for that. And for you, that could very simply mean that you are creating that space for yourself. In the sense of surrendering into a shape and offering what you want to let go of to the universe. Maybe offering a part of yourself to this practice and the universe. Maybe also asking here for guidance in your practice. The guidance to come to where you would like to be in your life, but wholeheartedly. So maybe that deeper connection toward yourself. Aware that in your right side, we think about the masculine energies, logical, rational approaches to life. On the left-hand side, we are working with the female aspect of our being, With that, the more intuitive aspect, more creative. And as you can tell, these are quite opposite. So we do want to unite them, which is what we do when we bring our hands into prayer, which we will practice again later. So as you might keep resting in your child's pose, you could choose to turn your head now the other way, unless you find that uncomfortable. The card that came up for our practice is taken from the secret language of your soul. And the card itself is express your hidden feelings. To me, there is a hint here into what we might want to let go of. It says here, what you suppress, ignore, and conceal rules you. You might feel safe hiding your deepest feelings, but it's only when you gain the courage to look in the mirror and perceive the protected, often stunted aspects of self that you allow yourself to grow. Until you take the time to tune into yourself and have the willingness to be vulnerable, you will continue to harden your heart and keep your intuitive, sensitive side trapped. So maybe there is some truth in that for you as well. We will look into that aspect again a little bit later on. As you still rest here in your child's pose variation, allow a few deeper breaths and find ways to gently expand into your torso as you breathe more deeply, trying to fill your lungs, feel the rib cage behind you and on your sides expanding, the sides of the waist stretching out. And then have a sense of surrendering again when you're breathing out, maybe sinking that little bit deeper into your support. Take a few more of those deep breaths, thinking about expanding, creating space, and then surrendering to that you might receive. Taking a few more breaths now. As you might from there center your head, walk your hands up towards your body. If you were using a bolster, you might place that out to the side. Same with the block, you could place that out to the side. And if you are using a blanket, you might allow that to fold a little bit more. You can either use your blanket or your block to sit upon. So as you come into a seated, easy pose, you might have one leg in front of the other there. Opening your hands out to either side, aware in a gentle gesture here of the two different qualities and sides, and joining them ever so slowly together in front of your heart center. Maybe lightly touching the thumbs towards the sternum and allowing a little space in between the palms of your hands to capture all there is. With your next inhalation, reaching your arms up. And as you breathe out, release the hands and place your fingertips gently down behind your back. Get a little squeeze in between the shoulder blades. Start to lift from your heart. And there's the option of lifting your chin forward and guiding the head back. Taking a deep, full breath over your front body. And when you breathe out, releasing very slowly from your lower back as you come back into a seated position. Taking a breath in as you lift your arms out and up. And on the out breath now, turning to your front legs side and releasing your hands where they feel supportive for a twist, maybe towards a leg or the floor. With the next inhale, reaching your arms back up over the head. On the out breath, landing your fingertips again lightly behind your back, changing here the cross of your legs, and squeezing the shoulder blades again on the in-breath to lift and open. Your front head back is optional. Please feel into the neck. What does it want to do today? Then slowly releasing again from your lower back. On the inhale, reach both arms up. On the exhale, draw the hands back down into heart center and twist as you release your hands into a twist. Maybe behind onto the floor in front or your knee. And we will reach the arms out one more time, breathing in. And drawing the hands down into heart center as we pause. You might choose to close your eyes. Maybe capture within your hands the preciousness of a whole practice for yourself, maybe holding your personal intention within. We will continue with 3 rounds of Om, our universal sound, to connect. Let's breathe in together to begin. With your next inhalation, let your arms reach back up. On your out breath, circle the hands again lightly behind you. I will now remove my sitting support and change the position. So I will now step my feet down onto the ground in front, about hip distance apart. With the fingers still behind the back, squeezing the shoulder blades and repeating what we've done from an easy pose, coming into a light back bend, inhaling. For the out breath now, embrace your legs and round the spine as you might lower your head towards your knees. You can choose to repeat that a few times. Swing the arms behind, or you might land on your hands or your fists. And instead of seated position, you might lift up into a tabletop, breathing in. And as you release again on your out breath, embracing once more the legs, rounding through the spine. So all of that stays the same. We'll repeat that for one more round as the options are for you. Always the option of keeping your gaze forward if the neck is a bit tight. And lowering back down as you breathe in. And releasing into a hug and a rounded spine. For the last round, you can repeat the same thing, or you might straighten your legs out, bring them together, point your toes, lift your hips, breathing in. And as you lower again, bend the knees slightly and hug the knees in here as well. Let's uncurl through the spine as we come into a kneeling position. You can place your blanket back underneath the knees if you like, as a support. You might spread your hands out now at about shoulder distance apart. Take the knees underneath your hips and just feeling into your body. taking a random movement that might bring length and space into parts of the body that feel a little bit stuck. So you could circle, you could squeeze into sides, back. You might need to turn your head and stretch into weird places. Please do what you feel is most beneficial for your body. Just for a few more movements here. Then centering yourself out. We will lift the right leg up behind. You might choose to flex the foot and turn the toes downwards. You'll strengthen both of your arms. And with your elbows drawing together your knee and your nose. So we're rounding the spine. On the inhale, extend out to the heel and forward into the crown. And with the elbows curling back in. Let's keep that flowing for 3 more breaths. When you come to your last round, keep the knee forward and aim or help your foot in between your hands. The movements here can be done with the back knee on the floor. If that's more suitable for you, keep it down. If not, tucking your toes under, raising the knee away from the ground. With your in-breath, then collapsing the lunge as you bend the knee and the upper body releases. On the out-breath, uncurling yourself into a standing posture. And take a lift of your arms as you breathe in. And then touch the hands down in Anjali Mudra in front of your chest, softening into your back knee. So playing here in a high lunge position. On the inhale, you might extend your legs and stretch up. On your exhale, bring the hands down to your heart and sink into the lunge. A few more here, breathing in as you lift. And out as you bring the hands down and lower, deepening your lunge. 2 more if I counted correctly in the head. Now with your next round afterwards, simply extending the arms up, legs stay bent. And you might then bend your elbows and bring the hands to rest behind your head. You could then rest the head more into the hands and aim to lift your heart space, but keep your back knee bent so we're getting a good stretch around the hip flexor area. You might stay here for just 1 more breath. And then reach it back up on the inhale. Place your hands back down onto the floor and stepping both knees back down, returning onto all fours. Have another check-in now. You might feel quite different on the sides. Is there a movement now that feels good? You could just simply circle yourself out or find another neck stretch or whatever it is that you might require. And we will then find our all fours once more. Now on the in-breath, extending the left leg back. And you might like to flex the foot again as if you're pushing something away. On the out-breath, draw together your knee and nose and round the spine. On the in-breath, extending. Out-breath, drawing in. Inhale, extend. Out-breath and draw in. Have 2 more here. And the same as on the other side. With your last one, you will hold the knee forward. And aim to land the foot between the hands. Once you're here, you can choose to keep knee down or tuck toes under and raise the knee. We're collapsing the lunge first, so let everything go on an in-breath. And then start rolling up your spine on your out-breath. Raising the arms up when you're ready, breathing in. And drawing the hands down to the heart center while you sink into both of your knees. Extending on the in-breath. Lower on the out-breath. We'll go for 3 more. After you've done your third one now, we'll raise the arms one more time. Keeping the knees bent this time. And then bending also your elbows so to place the hands behind the head. Trust into your hands with the heaviness of your head and start to lift more from your sternum. Important to keep the back knee bent to get into that hip flexor area as we attempt a light back bend more on the thoracic part of the spine. With the inhale, reach arms back up. On the exhale, bring your hands down, and once more, both knees are landing down on the mat, and you might find a few random movements that feel good for you. From there, if you prefer, toes tuck under, buttocks reaching up and back, puppy pose. Or knees off the ground for a downward facing dog. If you come into either, you might consider movement here as well. The swing into your hips. If your legs are straight, you might walk them out a little, pedaling into the legs. And then starting to walk your hands back to the feet. We come to stand at the back end of the mat and uncurling when you're ready into a standing position. Place the hands back together at heart center and take the breath in to lift maybe a light back bend here. For your out breath, soften the knees and take the hands down the midline into a standing forward bend. Now that might still feel quite stiff in your lower body, so we'll add a few waves, allowing the outer edges of your feet to be parallel. You might bring your hands up against your shins, wave the spine forward, breathing in, and then letting everything go, breathing out. So inhaling, waving long, bending the knees and letting it drop. If you find this is really nice for you, but you would actually like to add some weight bearing, you could take a hold on the opposite elbow and raise your arms around your head as you lengthen forward, and then still let it swing out when you lower again. Inhaling, lifting, exhaling, lower. Maybe one more. If you've been holding onto the elbows, we'll add another 3, but changing the arm on top. The breath in to lift. Fingers can also be against the shin, and let it go. Inhale and let it go. And one more time, breathing in and out to let it go. As you hang here, lift gently your shoulders up into the shoulder sockets. Hands can be resting against your legs or the floor. Lean deliberately the weight in the direction of the toes and feel how the tailbone comes higher. Maybe there's again more stretch across the backs of your legs. Maintaining a light bend here, begin your out breath and start uncurling your spine. On your in breath now, reaching the arms back up. On the exhale, bringing your hands down to heart center. As we stand here at the front, or the back rather, of the mat, shifting your weight to your left foot, raising your right heel or knee, and taking a good, comfortable step forward. Starting to bend afterwards into the front knee. The back foot's a bit out to hip distance. We're in a warrior one stance. So from this position, take a breath in, and if your shoulders allow you, lifting your prayer Anjali Mudra upwards. Get a gentle pull happening between your feet. And same as in the forward bend, let your shoulders be in their sockets, quite easy, rather than lifting upwards. Take a deep breath. As you breathe out, straighten the front leg. Bring the hands down upon your thigh and only beginning to lean halfway forward. You might allow to feel your pelvis here. If you notice that one side is dropping, it would often be the front side here. Start to push a little bit into the ball of the front foot. You can leave your hands there if you wish, and then lower your nose towards the knee into another forward bend. Keep pressing down into the ball of your front foot. If your hands are in the side of the waist, squeezing your shoulder blades and leading down towards the knee with your heart. If you prefer support, hands can rest on the leg, on the floor, or on a block. We'll stay in the pyramid pose. 2 more breaths. When the next in-breath comes, bend your front knee, bring your hands into prayer and start to push into the front foot. As you inhale, straighten both legs and reach your arms up. And with the out-breath, bring the hands back to heart and a bend again into the front knee, so returning to warrior one. Now, let's lean the weight into the front foot. We will step back from there. So push off the mat and step to the back of the mat. I know that's not always easy. We'll do a second round here. So let your right foot step forward once more into your warrior shape. Lean the weight into the front foot and use that to push you off and step to the back. Becomes easier as we practice. Let's lift our arms up once more, maybe arching into the back. And release the hands down into heart center. We will shift our weight now towards the other leg, lifting the heel or the knee, and taking a good step forward as we bend into the knee. As you come here into a stance again, we've got about hip distance apart. Take an inhale and maybe your arms are extending. Squeezing the feet lightly in towards each other for Virabhadrasana 1 or Warrior 1. And let your shoulders be soft in the shoulder sockets. Your gazing point might be the prayer position above you or in front of you. With the next inhale, maybe straighten the front leg. And as you breathe out, begin to draw the hands down the midline. Rest them onto your thigh and lean about halfway forward. Once more, the opportunity to take the hands into the sides of the waist or upon your pelvis to feel the balance here in your hips. If you find one is leaning a bit in, bring pressure to the ball of your front foot. If you keep your hands there, squeeze your shoulder blades and start to lower into your pyramid shape. You can keep the hands here and lead with your heart, squeeze the shoulder blades, or you could release your hands upon your leg onto a block or the floor on either side. Starting to lean forward while your pelvis stays grounded and balanced as it was before. One more breath. Then bending the front knee, hands to the heart. Start pushing into the front foot. Extend your legs and reach your arms up. And on the inhale, bend the knee again, hands to heart, warrior pose. We'll practice taking a step back from here. So lean the weight forward into the front foot. Push off that foot and step it back. We'll repeat that one more time. So same foot forward. Lean the weight into the foot, knee is bent. And push off the floor as you rise into a standing position. You might from here turn towards the long side of the mat, maybe just standing on the one corner. The leg that is facing the long side of the mat, raise the heel or lift the knee, breathing in. Then you might turn the knee open as you bring your hands to the heart and place that foot that you raised against the inside of the leg. That could be with your big toe on the floor, below the knee, or all the way up to your inner thigh. Pressure between the foot and the leg in that case. If you enjoy the prayer position, you can choose to keep it and lift your arms. Or you could choose to open the prayer and think of the different qualities that combined make us whole and complete, the arms held in branches. Let's lift the knee again, the arms are coming up, and we'll step the feet out wide, releasing the arms. So I'd ask you to turn the toes towards the corners of the mat here. Then join the hands back together. And as you breathe in to hold, as you breathe out, pushing to opposite sides and starting to bend deeply into the knees. Then straighten the legs as you inhale and join the palms in front of your chest. And push out, wrists flexed as you bend into your knees and sink into the goddess squat. Let's repeat that a few times. Inhaling, joining the hands. Exhaling, bending the knees and pushing outwards. 2 more here. If it feels right for you, hold your last one. You can release your hands down to do so, or leave your arms out to the sides. You might even choose to raise your heels off the ground. Then turn your heels out. Bring the legs a little bit straighter, outer edges of your feet aligned. And as you exhale, your knees are soft. The hands can slide down the legs. They might even touch the ground. Leaning a little bit forward into wide-legged forward bend. There's too much blood rushing in now. Keep the head halfway up instead. If you are folding all the weight begins to lean to the balls of the feet. So the tailbone comes quite high. With your hands resting underneath the shoulders, again lift the shoulders ever so slightly into their sockets. And then indulge in 3 long out breaths to deepen this shape. Once you completed the breath, rise up halfway, bend your knees again, turn your toes out, bring your hands to touch, and start to rise up to stand. Take another deep breath to lift your arms. And out breath to bring the hands to the heart, a light bend of your knees. Shift the weight to the other side of the mat, bringing your foot in. Lifting your arms, your heel or your knee, And then turning the leg out and choosing your tree pose as you join the hands again at heart center. So heel against the lower leg, foot against the leg, or lifting your foot to the upper inner thigh for the tree on the other side. With yourself standing in another tree pose, choose to keep your hands touching or raise them up together, or choose once more deliberate to highlight that we need two vastly different sides in our life to be balanced and complete in our center. Your next breath in, lift your arms, your knee, and then land again, hands coming into heart center. Let your arms release completely now, turning the palms forward. Have little wiggles or steps across your feet so you feel really grounded for a standing mountain pose. As you ground, let your knees gently soften. Give the shoulders that little lift backwards, the palms are turned forward, and find a steadiness here in your gaze. You might choose to close your eyes and become aware of the two very different sides of the body, not just the left and the right, but also the lower part of the body, the soles of the feet on which you stand, that ground you into the earth. And on the opposite side, the crown of the head, kind of exposing you to all that is around as the sky. We're bringing all of this together as we stand in between the earth and the sky, lifting both arms back up on a breath in and drawing Anjali Mudra down in front of your heart as you soften the knees and begin to fold forward. On an in-breath, you might like another half lift position and then come down into a seated pose. I will grab my blanket again, place that onto the mat in a folded way for a light seated elevation. Please only use a blanket or a cushion here rather than a block, because we would like to stay quite close to the floor. Extending both legs out in front and maybe feeling as you sit on the front edge that light tilt forward. Bending both of your knees to begin with, ever so slightly, and flexing the feet. Place your hands or fingertips down by your sides. Keep the spine upright and tall. Hold your leg position and inhale to reach your arms up. With your out-breath, draw the hands into the heart and start to lean forward from your hips. You can bring the hands onto the legs as a gentle support. As you let your hands slide down the legs, you might allow yourself to lean that little bit further forward before you might choose to round your spine and surrender over your legs. Surrendering also to the sensations you might find as challenging, just like the secrets that we hold, the stiffness that we've stored in the body, unaware of these areas until we shine a light on them. And once we have acknowledged that this is what is happening, that is the time when we can start to create change by releasing patterns of tension and hold. We talk into the practice and allowing ourselves to soften. Over time, we can create big changes. But for now, it might just simply be the change in our awareness that we allow to take the first step. With the next breath in, lifting halfway out of the shape and engaging lower abdominals, pelvic floor as you come back into a seated position. Take a bend into your right knee and step the foot down onto the ground. Keep a little gap between the foot and your leg. Placing the opposite hand, your left hand, to the knee, and let the right hand fingertips land behind, and then take a breath out and turn into a twist. You can embrace the front knee with your elbow instead, but keep a flexion in the foot on the left leg. While you might choose to stay here within your twist, I'll offer you a fascia version where you could take the hand away from the ground and stretch the arm into the diagonal up and back while holding your twists. Let's swing that arm down and place it more towards the side of your body. Take the hand from around the knee and land that to the other side. And then let your knee fall across the other, sliding this hand behind your back, starting to look over the shoulder and lifting the right side of your buttocks off the floor. So this is a vastly different way of twisting to what your yoga textbooks might suggest. There's a good likelihood you feel that stretch into a different area too. We're going here into our spiral line, fascia line of the body. As you release your bottom to the ground, lift the knee again, extend the leg out. We will change sides now. So now bending your left knee. Help the foot in a bit, but keep a gap between your foot and your extended leg. Opposite hand to the knee, other hand fingertips behind, then nice and tall, and then turning into a twist on the out breath. The same here. You could embrace your knee and hug it in with the elbow. And if you enjoyed the deeper stretch, you can lift the hand from behind and stretch it diagonally up it. Most of you know this side is limited for me, so I use the support, but you can lift yourself up there if it feels right. Maintaining the twist. Before releasing the hand back down behind and slightly out to the side. Release the arm from the knee, place the hand to the opposite side, and start letting your left knee fall over your right leg as you lift your left hip. The hand comes behind lightly, and you're starting to turn to look over the back shoulder. So you might find your stretch is going into really weird places, and that's exactly what we want to do. We want to target different parts of our body and help them to be mobile and smooth as well. Slowly releasing your bottom to the ground and extending both legs out long at the front. I suggest that we come down towards the floor for a little inversion. Now, as I still have a bit of dizziness going on, I will keep the blanket there for my head. For you, I suggest to keep the cushioning quite low, as well as your shoulders on the ground. So we might lower down onto our backs. If you find now you could rather do with support when it comes to lifting the legs, a block, a sturdy cushion, a rolled up blanket, a pile of books might be nice. As you come to lie down, walk your feet up towards your buttocks and maintain a hip distance stance. Arms come down by the sides of the body. there's nothing here to do for now, but on your in-breath, think about broadening your sitting bones. And on the out-breath, engaging into the tummy muscles. What we're doing here is a light tilt of the pelvis. So for the in-breath, think about widening the buttocks onto the floor. And for the out-breath, engaging your abdominal muscles, and maybe the back flattens out. So let the pelvis rock for a couple more breaths. This might smooth out a bit of discomfort around your lower back. Last one, holding your spine down and then taking a breath in to lifting your hips up. You can choose to hold them here, or you could choose to take something underneath your sacrum. If you're using a block, it could be flat or half a way up to support yourself. With the arms by the sides, no matter supported or not, you might wiggle your shoulders under and turn the palms of the hands back up. Little reminder of our earlier practice when we began in child's pose. Ready to give, ready to receive. If you like to keep your bridge supported, think about the lift that you created by drawing the shoulders under in the chest area. If you would like to bring in more strength, lift the hips away from the block, hold the squeeze in your back, and start to draw your tailbone up towards your knees. Holding here, bridge pose. If you are on the block, lift your hips up now. We're removing our support. Roll the shoulders out, the palms to the ground, and slowly releasing your hips back down. Now, I am not a huge fan of shoulder stands anymore. There's half versions that are safe. Full versions, please only practice them if you have them in your regular practice and if your neck and shoulders are in perfect condition. If they aren't, you might join me with a supported shoulder stand, where we lift the hips back up, and you can choose to place again the block down flat or at halfway point. If you're using your support, please make sure it's only under the bony fused part of your spine, so the free vertebrae are hanging off the block. You could then lift either your hips into your hands if you're after a shoulder stand, or you lift your knees over your chest. You might then extend your legs up. And if you're feeling supported enough, again, whether that is from a shoulder stand or from a supported variation, you can release your arms down to the floor. If not supported, I suggest the palms touching the ground to help you lift your hips up and actively point your toes. The pointing of the feet might be what we all have in common at this point. An extension through the front of the legs for a change. If you were in a full shoulder stand, start rolling your spine down using your core. If you were with me on a supported version, bend your knees into your chest. Maybe take a hold of your block. We will all step the feet back down at some point to the ground. Those with an item underneath lift their hips to remove that again, and then we will all come to lie down flat on the mat. You might lift both knees up carefully to the chest and give them a good squeeze in, and you might enjoy just circling your knees for a little while. And changing direction. If you're feeling brilliant now, which I hope you do, but if you don't, move a little into the areas that don't feel quite right, and then come to lie in a shavasana or relaxation. So you could have your feet on the floor, but bring them wide and let your knees touch inward. Or you can choose to have legs out long, toes rolling outward. And if you happen to have a bolster, you might place that underneath your knees too. While you settle into your resting pose, consider opening the arms out again, letting your hands fall away from your body into the open space on either side. Often we brought our hands to touch in front of the chest. Now they're again representing the two sides. Krishnamacharya said about the prayer position or Anjali Mudra, it is a gesture that signifies the potential for an intention to progress to greatest spiritual awakening. And he explains that when keeping a little space between the palms, that we are creating another symbol, that of a flower that still is yet to open. And with that, we are also symbolizing the intention of opening our own hearts. And you might focus on that heart opening right now. With the heart open into the space that surrounds you. We'll return to our hidden feelings. And with that, the cards express your hidden feelings. To help with this idea of creating space, you might keep lying here comfortably, leaving your breath flowing naturally, and letting your whole body be held and supported by the ground. When you get a sense of your body being easy and relaxed, imagine lying in a pool of healing. There's a purple flame close by, flickering quietly, keeping you warm. Allow your body to soften and enjoy the experience. Sense or imagine a funnel in the center of your chest. Acknowledge any burdens, heaviness, and old perspectives that clog your heart space. And allow them to be released from your body, flowing out of the funnel and into the purple flame to be cleansed. Now bring your hands to the front of the body. Using your left hand thumb to massage the space in your right hand that is between your ring finger and your middle finger. Circling that space gently. Changing directions of the circles. Breathing deeply and slowly. Then release the massage of the right hand and change to the left as you now use your right thumb on the left hand between your middle and ring finger and begin to gently massage in a circular motion. While allowing your chest to fill with deep breathing, with oxygen. And on the out breath, expel all impurities from your chest and lungs. Changing directions of your circular massage and keeping the focus. Then let your hands fall away back to the ground. Let them relax. And relax yourself in the warm, regenerative pool for as long as it feels good. Slowly beginning to remove yourself from the image of this pool and visualize your body again lying in your space on the mat. Starting to deepen your breath. Returning back to movement. Maybe even stretching. And then coming in your own way to join me in a seated position, whether you roll to your side or rise over the front body. Taking your hands once more to each side. And bringing everything slowly back to center by joining the hands and leaving that little space in between the palms to represent the flower yet to bloom. We'll complete this practice with one universal sound of Om as we breathe in together now. With a gentle bow, we acknowledge each other. Namaste.